All authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. Go, therefore, and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all things that I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age.
We hear a great deal today about contemporary problems. Now, that word contemporary simply means marked by modern characteristics. In other words, problems of today. But it's an interesting thing that there are no new problems in the world, really. No complications arise because of our attitude toward our problems. In Genesis chapter 3, you can see the origin of most of the problems in this old world. You remember, of course, the serpent more subtle than any beast of the field, which Jehovah God had made. And he said to Mother Eve, Yea, hath God said, You shall not eat of every tree of the garden? Old Satan is out to deceive us and mislead us, isn't he? Oh, Mother Eve said, Of all the trees of the garden we may freely eat. But of the tree that is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, You shall not eat thereof, and neither shall you touch it, lest you die. Oh, Satan said, Thou shalt not surely die. Wait a minute. Let's look and see what happened. When Mother Eve saw that this forbidden fruit was good for food, that's lust of the flesh, isn't it? It's probably some of the best fruit in the Garden of Eden. Yes, sir. Otherwise, it would be no temptation. You see, in this whole world today, that's the way Satan makes material matters, sinful conditions appear. Boy, that's to be desired. That's what she saw that it was good for food. Oh, and it's pleasant to the eye. Probably some of the prettiest fruit in the garden. Ooh, and then Satan said, God doth know that in the day that you eat thereof, you'll be as gods, knowing good and evil. Oh. And so when it was desired, or to be desired to make one wise, she ate, gave to her husband, and he did eat with her. Verse 6. That's interesting, isn't it? Do you remember in 1 John chapter 2, verses 15 through 17, John said, Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Now he said all that's in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, the pride of life. These are not of the Father, but of the world. The world passeth away, and the lusts thereof. Oh, but he that doeth the will of the Father abideth forever. Just a moment, let's analyze this. Mother Eve saw that the fruit was good for food, right, lust of the flesh. It is pleasant to the eye, lust of the eye. Desire to make one wise, pride of life. Oh, Satan said those are the only three avenues through which Satan may approach to tempt the human family. Right, now there are 10,000 temptations in each of these avenues or areas, but those are the basic three. Oh, so then the problems have been around all the while, right? I think that word contemporary, when applied to the problems of life, have to do more with a modernistic view of those problems than a factual understanding of who we are, from whence we came, and what Satan is doing in this old world. You know, 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 4, Satan is said to be the god of this world. Now, present day concepts, that's important when we stop to think about the problems of life. They are magnified when I put my construction on those problems. You know, just a few years ago, we didn't hear of many of the contemporary problems. For instance, young people, especially today, are confused about legality versus righteousness. Today, the contemporary concept of that problem is that, hey, if it's legal, it's all right, we can do it. No, what was it inspiration said, the Apostle Peter speaking, Acts chapter 5, verse 29? Oh, we must obey God rather than man. I need to understand that principle. Oh, sure. We respect our governors, our president, our leaders, thou shalt not speak evil of a ruler of thy people. That statement was made in the context of religion, and they were not to speak of the high priest in a negative way, but the principle obtains today. Let every man be in subjection to the higher powers. For there is no power but of God, and the powers that be are ordained of God. Therefore he that resisteth the power withstandeth the ordinance of God, and they that withstand shall receive to themselves judgment. Rulers are not a terror to the good work, but to the evil. Now, if thou wouldst have no fear of the power, do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise from the same. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid. For he beareth not the sword in vain. He is a minister of God unto thee for good, an avenger for wrath to him that doeth evil. What's he talking about in Romans 13, beginning at verse 1? Civil government. And for this cause you must needs be in subjection, not only because of the punishment that you'll receive, but because of conscience. So then, I need to understand that I am to obey God rather than man. Right. Yeah, but suppose there is a contradiction here, and certain demands are made. Now, that's evident in the New Testament, is it not? Peter and John were on trial at the very time he made that statement. The chief priest said, "You're not to speak in this name." That is, they forbade them to teach by the authority of Jesus Christ. You can, Peter said, whether it's right to obey you or to obey God, you'll have to be the judge. But we cannot but speak the things which we have seen and heard. So then that's the basis. We must obey God. Right. Now somebody says, yeah, you'd be thrown in prison though, but the apostles, a number of them, spent a great deal of time in prison. Why? For obeying God rather than man. Sure. I need to understand the source of life. I need to understand what provides for my happiness and my welfare and my eternal salvation. That is God's will. I need to appreciate that. Legal? As a matter of fact, when you really stop to think about it, Jesus made a statement, didn't he, in Matthew chapter 19, verses 4 through 6? Have you not read that he who made them from the beginning made them male and female? And said, for this cause shall a man leave his father and his mother, shall cleave unto his wife, and they two shall become one flesh, so that there are no more two but one flesh. What therefore God hath joined together, let not man put asunder. Now that's as simple as ABC, isn't it? Sure, one man for one woman for life. What God and marriage is of God, what God hath joined together, forget it. It's done. A man can't put it asunder. Someone says, now, just a minute, preacher. I mean, the government of the United States allows divorce. Under certain conditions, you can go before the judge, you can file for divorce, and you can be granted divorce, and therefore you're no longer married. What did Jesus say in the continuity of that statement? He said, verse 9, you remember, Matthew 19, but I say unto you, that whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery. And he that marrieth her when she is put away, committeth adultery. Well, someone says, why would the fellow who marries that woman that's put away be living in adultery? He's living with another man's wife. Now somebody said, we got a divorce. That's civil government. What God said was, what God hath joined together, forget it. Let not man fool with it. Let not man put asunder. Now the Lord gives two conditions upon which an innocent party may contract a second marriage. One, of course, is death of a spouse. We understand that. The other is sexual infidelity, from which the guilty party will not repent. Yes, reconciliation is always better than destroying a home. The Lord is very clear on his teaching. Now, people want to put every kind of construction on the Lord's statement in Matthew 19, but the pronoun whosoever is applicable to the descendants of Adam. If you descended from Adam, then when Jesus said, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery. And he that marrieth her when she is put away, committeth adultery. Why would that be true? Well, have you not read that he who made them from the beginning? Let's go back there. You remember, and Jehovah God formed man of the dust of the earth, breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Genesis chapter 2 at verse 7. Well, of course, then he tells about the planting of the Garden of Eden, etc. But do you remember what he said in verse 18? He said, it's not good that the man should be alone. I'll make him a help meet for him, M-E-E-T, suitable, answering to his needs. Well, wait a minute. When you really stop to think about it, I mean, here's a perfect man in a perfect world. There are no noxious plants. Sin hasn't entered into the world. No mosquitoes, no flies. I mean, this is a perfect world, and here's a perfect man. God does no shoddy work. I mean, what else could he need? Everything on this earth is subject to him. But what did you say, Lord? It's not good that the man should be alone. I'll make him a help answering to his needs. Meet for him. What did Adam need? Well, you remember, and we've talked about it many times, man is made in the image and the likeness of God, Genesis 1, verse 27. What's God like? Oh, God is love. 1 John 4 at verse 8. Wait a minute. Adam created in the image and the likeness of God. What did he need? Friends, he needed someone who could be the object of his love. Someone for whom he could be responsible, someone whom he could embrace, whose welfare he could see to. Well, that's the way God is. We're made in the image and the likeness of God. There is no greater relationship than marriage. God devised that for man's peace of mind, his contentment, his happiness, his satisfaction, no longer two but one flesh, a complete unit, man and woman, in the sacred bond of marriage. It is wonderful and beautiful beyond my ability to verbalize. God knew exactly what he was doing. You want to be genuinely happy? Oh, then give your life to the Lord and find some lovely lady, or as the case may be, young man, whom you love more than you love your own life. Enter into the relationship of marriage. No, not into ungodliness, not into immorality or filth or adultery or fornication. No. In purity, motivated by love, give your life one to the other. Oh, the ceremony is a civil arrangement. There's no question about that. And I am delighted that such is the case. However, we are on the verge of giving sanction to homosexuality. What? Our government, it's kind of rocking back and forth at the time, but we're in danger of legalizing homosexuality. Well, somebody said, now that's an alternate lifestyle, friend. Homosexuality is not a lifestyle at all. You can't reproduce. No. You have to recruit. And it is ungodly and immoral, filthy, and very, very sinful. Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed so that today their exact location cannot be established on the map. Why? Sodomy, homosexuality. On that term Sodom, the name of the city, is a synonym for that kind of ungodliness and immorality today. All one need do is read the first chapter of the book of Romans to find out that those who practice such things, of course, will not inherit the kingdom of God, lose their souls, unhappy, miserable, never come to know the Lord, or the peace of mind that characterizes those who walk with the Lord. Yeah, but someone says, now, if that's legalized, you can't legalize sin. You can't pass laws that will make sin accepted of God. It just does not work that way. No. Faith cometh of hearing, and hearing by the word of God. Now, sometimes people say, well, now, I don't care what that say, you will. It's just a matter of time. You will never get out of this world alive. It is appointed unto man once to die, Hebrews 9, verse 27. Don't have to argue that at all. Stroll through the cemetery takes care of it. We understand. Oh, but the latter portion of that verse. It is appointed unto man once to die, after this, the judgment. The basis of that judgment, we've noted it many times. Oh, yes. Jesus said, he that rejecteth me and receiveth not my sayings hath one that judgeth him. The words that the civil government has spoken, no. The words that I have spoken, the same shall judge him in the last day. Friends, I need to awaken to my true identity and thus to my spiritual needs. Now, someone said, well, preacher, you just don't like homosexuality. Whoa. Don't tell me what I don't like. I don't like sin. I don't like immorality. I don't like filth. That's true. But the homosexual is an immortal soul. Christ died for him. He's worth more than this entire world and all of its wealth multiplied by infinity. He's going to live forever. He needs to know the truth. And to understand the truth, sin needs to be identified. You know, that's why they crucified Jesus Christ. He called it like it is. Sin is sin. It will separate you from God. There he stood, and he stood only for truth and was opposed to all error. You can do two things with a fellow like that. You can kill him or join him. He decided to kill him. That's fine. That fulfilled the will of God. And so now I'm saved in consequence of the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. God's will is going to be done. There's no question about that. You know, today in our government, contemporary problems, we have men in high places who are seeking to remove God from government, and from our schools, and ultimately from our homes. When you do that, you're dead. You can't exist. You see, God controls the affairs of man. Oh yes, God is in control in civil government. Well, someone says, why doesn't he make things boo, woo, woo? You and I are made in the image and the likeness of God. What's that? Deuteronomy 30, verse 19. God said, I call heaven and earth a witness against you this day, that I place before you life and death, the blessing and the curse, therefore choose. Wait, what? Choose. He allows man, who is made in his image and his likeness, an independent spirit, possessed of free moral agency. He allows him to do his thinking and to do his own thing, but he tells him about the consequences. Destruction results from willful rebellion against God. But we have convinced many people today, and especially young people that come along, and we understand that. They are learning. They are soaking up what they hear. They observe what they see. And we're feeding them a diet of filth, immorality, ungodliness, and perversion. And we wonder what's wrong with our young people. We wonder why they're having such problems today. Why would a teenager commit suicide? I grew up as a teenager, went in the Navy, World War II as a teenager. You couldn't have run after me fast enough to shot me, let alone think about taking my own life. Why, the very idea. Who ever heard of, that's confusion within the spirit, the heart, the mind of man. How does that come about? The confusion of the ungodly, the godliness that characterizes our world today. We're being fed a diet that will lead down the primrose path of eternal ruin. You see, marriage is a divine arrangement. Sure, it involved one man and one woman for life. Two people of the opposite sex. Involved in a relationship that is very productive. Right. I remember that God said to Adam and Eve, verse 28 of Genesis chapter 1, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth. No, wonderful. I tell you, nothing like a happy marriage, but contemporary problems in our land? Right. Young people are being told today that you can commit fornication and you can become pregnant, and you don't have to ask your parents about murdering your child. Abortion. Somebody says, now that's legal, preacher. What was it you said, Peter? Acts 5, verse 29. We must obey God rather than man. Friend, when the sperm fertilizes the ovum in the womb of a woman, a life is begotten. And that life is separate and apart from mother and father. The height of its stature, the color of its eyes are determined at that moment. Say. It can be, healthy and happy and fulfilled and live in its mother's womb up to 9 months. It can live up to 100 years more or less upon this earth, or it can be murdered at any point along the way. What kind of life is that in the womb of a woman? Swine, kine, bovine, equine, feline? I mean, what kind of life is it? When the sperm fertilizes the ovum in the womb of a woman, that's human life. You've read Mr. Webster's definition of murder, haven't you? The willful taking of innocent human life? Sure. But our young people today are being fed a diet that will bring condemnation on the basis of contemporary concept of existing problems. the problems are the same. There is sin and righteousness, and that's about it. Yes, sir. Over 60% of the marriages in this country destroyed. Right. How'd that come about? Because man is obedient to the Lord? No. 36% of the children born in our land are born out of wedlock? Right. How did that come about? No. You see, that's condemned in Scripture. God is trying to preserve the purity of man and woman. He's trying to provide for their happiness. He has made every effort to provide for my eternal welfare. Friends, I need to hear Him. I need to obey His instruction. Oh, it'll keep me pure and clean? No, it won't make me perfectly sinless. Well, the very idea, no, sir. We're sinners. We'll make mistakes. There's no question about that. Oh, but God has a remedy for that for those who will submit to His will. They're under the protective custody of the blood of His Son, which removes their sins on a continual basis. 1 John 1 at verse 7. Oh, but if I'm going to be governed by the contemporary concept of existing problems today, friends, we're going to have all kinds of problems. We need to understand, and we need to teach our children that because a thing may be legal does not mean that it is righteous, that it pleases God. For instance, today our young people are being misdirected and misled, and their minds are confused, and they have no particular goal in life. They do not really understand who they are. Why? How would children wind up? Parents, train up your children in the way they should go. Even when they're old, they'll not depart from it. What is that, Proverbs 22, verse 6? Sure. A failure of parental responsibility. Today parents are too busy, magnifying and emphasizing the negative and eliminating the positive. They do not teach their children who they are. These words which I command thee this day shall be upon thine heart. Thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children. Thou shalt speak of them when thou sittest in thine house, when thou walkest by the way, when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. They shall be for signs upon thine hands. Thou shalt bind them for frontlets between thine eyes. Upon thy gates and upon the doorposts of thine house shalt thou write them. Deuteronomy 6, verses 6 through 9. Parental responsibility involves, first of all, a godly example on the part of parental authority, and then the teaching of our young people in the fear of the Lord. Did you know most parents seldom, if ever, think about that? If your children reach the majority, if they reach the age of accountability, they will stand with you in the day of judgment. What have you done for them? Eternity looms before you and before your children. Have you taught them about the love of God? Have you told them about the truth that makes men free? Every scripture inspired of God is profitable for teaching, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of God may be perfect, truly furnished unto every good work. 2 Timothy chapter 3, 16 and 17. Here is the source of life. This is the instruction that will enable me to overcome the difficulties that appear before me through the contemporary concept of existing problems. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eye, pride of life. I need to guard against that. God has given me the ability and the strength to overcome the onslaught of Satan. When I make application of His will to my life, peace, contentment, happiness, forgiveness, friends, it's all available to us. We're being misled today. I need to get back to the reading and the application of God's Word. May God help us so to do.
Hello, I'm Jim Dearman. I hope you appreciate the wonderful presentation of the gospel by James Watkins as much as I do. He presents the truth with clarity and compassion. I'd like to take a moment to tell you how you can see James Watkins not just weekly, but daily on the Gospel Broadcasting Network. Visit our website at www.gbntv.org to learn more about GBN and the daily broadcast schedule for Preaching the Gospel with James Watkins. You will also get information as to how to bring the Gospel Broadcasting Network into your home through an affordable direct-to-home satellite system available from many satellite dealers throughout the country. Visit us at www.gbntv.org or call us toll-free at 866-525-4677.
What a joy it has been to spend this time with you in your home. We would love to hear from you. Why not visit our website at preachingthegospeltv.com? And while you're there, sign the guest book so we may know who's viewing the program around the nation. If you would like a free cassette tape or CD of this program, just pick up the phone and call us at 1-800-683-3120 or write to us at P.O. Box 1484, Dalton, Georgia 30721. Our email address is ptgwjw@aol.com. When you're requesting a tape or CD, please include the program number you see on your screen. Maybe you want to study more about God's Word. If so, we can send you the first lesson in this new 6-lesson series free of charge. These lessons are intended to help you gain a better understanding of God's Word. Your friends in the Churches of Christ have brought you this program today, and they would love to have you come and visit their services. If you need assistance in finding a congregation in your area, we would be glad to help you. Preaching the Gospel is under the oversight of the elders of the Highland Church of Christ in Dalton, Georgia. And now, back to my dad.
As we said, there really are no new problems today. Our attitude toward our problems creates difficulty for many people today. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eye, and the pride of life. Those are the major avenues through which Satan may approach. How can I overcome that? How can I defeat Satan in his determination to lead me away from God? Oh, place the emphasis on the spiritual man. Sure, you have physical needs. Be sure they're legitimate needs authorized in Scripture. We work, we labor, we buy food, we eat. Why, certainly. We understand that. Lust of the eye. Careful what you look at, what you actually think about. Whoso looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his own heart. Matthew 5:28. Be careful what you see and the consequences of the object of your vision. There are some things you have to avoid. Friends, lust of the flesh, lust of the eye, pride of life.
Churches of Christ who bring you Preaching the Gospel are part of the Restoration Movement, a return to the New Testament to restore the first century church, the pre-denominational Church of Christ. We hope you appreciate this Bible plea for people everywhere to abandon the broken cisterns of human religions that can hold no water and to drink from the fountain of living waters found only in the Word of God. Join us next time for Preaching the Gospel with James Watkins.